During this time of the Feast of Hag Matzot, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we are supposed to have removed all of the leaven out of our homes. The problem with that is that leaven doesn't want to leave our home. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, Day 4 of Feast Focus, a time of focusing on readings pertaining to Pesach, Passover, and Hag Matzot, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. In Exodus, Shemot chapter 12, verse 39, we read something very familiar to ourselves. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought out of Mitzrayim, for it was not leavened, since they were driven out of Mitzrayim, and had not been able to delay, nor had they prepared food for themselves. So we read that, and we just kind of say, okay, that's what happened. There's a little bit more maybe that's going on here. Let's take a few moments and try to break this down. The word for leaven, most of you know, is chametz, and it's yeast. It's bread that has been fermented and caused to rise. But in the text, it says lo chametz, unleavened, no leaven bread. Another idea pertaining to the definition of the word chametz is sour. Fermentation is taking place, and so there is a soured flavor we call yeasted bread. It has a little bit of a bite, a little bit of flavor on kind of the back middle of your tongue, and you taste that unique flavor that is there. Now, we've learned to enjoy that over the years, and it is a very desirable flavor. But for Hag Matzot, for the Feast of Matzah, we get away from all that, as leaven is a type of sin. Now, why is that? When things go awry in a relationship, circumstance, we might use the phrase, well, I was soured on that. Or it caused me to have a sour disposition about it. We look at things that just don't suit our taste. My grandkids, they love to get these sour bite things, and it is supposed to be more than you're capable of handling. And it's a challenge. Can I put it in my mouth and keep it in my mouth even though it's extremely sour? They think it's great. I don't enjoy it very much. So this is no game. This is not a challenge to see how sour we can get. There is a process, though, of at this time of the year trying to get the sourness, the leaven out. And in our homes, invariably, you're going to find somewhere in the middle of the week a box of something that has leaven in it that you overlooked. And it's like, how did that get in there? Who put this in here? When did we buy this? If you have extra pantries for food storage or something, you think, well, I've cleaned it all out. And again, it's in there. How did I overlook this? As I said in the opening, leaven doesn't want to leave, it would seem. It tries to hide. Leaven is sneaky, very sneaky. And sometimes it shows up in ways that we hadn't thought of. This house, the leaven doesn't want to leave this house. Things have soured us over the years, and we have swept them under the rug. We have pushed them in the back of a closet of our spirit somewhere. We have claimed, well, I'm over that. I no longer think about that. Well, we don't think about it because it's not on the surface. Part of the process of this week in eating the matzah is not just to eat bread that doesn't have much flavor to it, and we're trying to dress it up with making pizza out of it or spreading jam or peanut butter over the top of it to give it some kind of desired flavor. But it's about to remind us simplicity. Get back to simplicity. Go back to your basics. And in getting back to the basics and the simplicity of our righteous relationship with Yah through Messiah Yeshua, we may have to step over some things that we thought, I thought I got rid of that. Let Yah begin to bring to the surface the things. Shove some foods out of the way so you see the box of leaven product in the back that you didn't pay attention to, that it can be brought to the forefront. And even though you may beat up on yourself, if I'd have known that was there, I would have gotten rid of it. Listen to that. If I'd known that it was there, I'd have got rid of it. The thing is, we forgot that it was there. Out of sight, out of mind. But it's in there. Whatever is in your spiritual food pantry, whatever foodstuffs that you have stuffed to the back, they still have a way of infiltrating your daily life and showing up in ways that maybe we haven't imagined. One of the ways that we describe this process is being what's called being triggered. Events, people, thoughts, words, even smells sometimes can trigger us. And the problem with being triggered, where we explode with a reaction, not always in anger, sometimes it's in a bucket of tears, sometimes it's just driven to silence and a need for isolation, all kinds of responses and reactions. And we don't understand why. Why do I respond? When somebody does this or doesn't do something, whenever I hear this or smell that, why do I respond the way that I do? Sometimes it's trauma and abuse, maybe in some years in the past, but not always. Sometimes it just triggers a thought process of defeatism and brokenness, and you are reminded of something that should have been gotten over, even though you're not consciously thinking about it. What is this? It's leaven that doesn't want to leave your home, and it's hiding there. And by the love and the grace and the mercy, the compassion of our great Elohim, He has wonderfully situated this feast day not to torture our tongues with bland bread. That's not the process. This is a blessing that while the yeast is gone out of our mouth, that we will continually pursue the yeast that it may be in our spirit until our spirit gets down to the place that it's basic and refreshed and able to be built on again. Now, I'm not suggesting that, this you can resolve past hurts and issues and conflicts in 1 week's time with a simple prayer. Yes, that's a great way to get started, and it may take some work and some continued prayer, thought, and pursuit of Scripture and work of the Spirit and some counseling and some mentoring and some prayer partnership, and all of these things are added on. But this is the week that we get started, where we dig in the back of our cupboards, hidden closets, under the floorboards, and we find the stuff that has been consistently jumping up and tripping us and flaring into our emotions and prevailing upon our minds, and we're not even aware of it. There are things that are sour and fermenting, perhaps, somewhere in the shadows. But we sweep our house and make it clean. But where we clean it out, remember the teaching of Yeshua. Don't leave that house empty. Don't leave it in a vacuum. Fill it with the Spirit of the Most High, who restores and renews and reinvigorates and brings joy where there was brokenness, healing where there were wounds, and righteousness where darkness prevailed. May Yah bring you a healing process today. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. To then, shalom.